Jade, welcome here at the Humility Quest. This is our first interview to talk to the world about mental fitness. I'm super excited to have you here because of your plethora of just experience in building your own mental fitness. And yeah, I can't wait to hear about it. So for anybody who doesn't know Jade, she is a community engagement expert. And I've been part of some of her communities. And I can tell you that as far as like online communities are concerned, all of the other ones that I've ever been a part of, I haven't been a part of them very long. But in the group that I'm in with Jade, like it's obvious that there's somebody who cares in that group. And it's not even a group about mental fitness, it's a business group. But like it's obvious that somebody cares in there and that they're always kind of reaching out and they know people and they know how to connect you and all those kind of good things. So very, very awesome stuff. So welcome, Jade.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun already. Great intro. Nailed it.
Yeah, well, so do you want to go ahead and, I don't know, you can go ahead and explain what a community engagement expert is a little better if you like.
Yeah, and this is super relevant. It may like appear like I'm going to go down some rabbit holes, but I swear it's all going to tie together. So what's really cute and fun and interesting is that Kevin, you and I met in like business, like marketing automation circles. And granted, you introduced me as I do community and I do community for business and marketing automation circles, right?
Yeah.
However, the reason that I'm such a passionate believer in community is it kind of goes in both directions. It goes in the mental health direction, and I'll kind of end with that. But with the business route, where Kevin and I really collide in the business spaces, we like to make sure that there's what's called a customer journey, making sure that there's, meaningful reasons to bring people from A to B to C through your customer journey, starting with they don't know you at all to your number one fan. And the way that you do that is you guide them and you tell them what to do and you make things make sense. And what's really cool about the whole strategy behind community, which is what I largely do now, is exactly the same. People have online communities in their businesses, and it's really easy to be like, I sell a course and there's community, and then they don't talk and they don't do anything, and it's really weird. And it's because people just kind of treat it like this whole, and there's community, and they don't really give it any more thought than that, when it really deserves the same thought and intention that marketing, your entire business does. You want people to talk, you tell them lovingly what to do next, so it all makes sense. So it's the whole marketing automation, business best practices are the same as community best practices. Make people feel good and understood and tell them how it makes sense and what to do next. So if you want people to talk in your business's online community, you tell them what to talk about and when and where and why and how and for what reason and why it all makes sense and why it feels good to be a part of something bigger. So that's sort of like the business side of it. And Kevin's like, yeah, I totally get it. I get it. Because this is what we do for a living. This is like
this is what we do for a living. Yeah. But like it's really cool because, like you have developed a way to really be able to scale relationships. That's what I think is like the cool part about it. And it sounds like when you say scale relationships, it sounds cold, it sounds mechanical. But experiencing the groups that I've been in with you, right? Like it's not. Like it's all feels very fresh, very genuine. There are some kind of cold mechanical things that you do in the background so that you can remember everything, because the number of people that are in those groups, it would be impossible for any person to like remember all that. So there are some cold mechanical things you do to kind of like, so that you can remember those things. But then like all the engagement is very genuine. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And, so like I think that it's fitting also that what you do is like you scale relationships, you do all these things, and you've got like, this great, personal experience in mental fitness. So let's talk about, like some of your mental fitness expertise.
Yeah, well, the other half of that is like, that's the business side. That's where community comes in for me and where it became sort of a business arm, shall we say. However, the personal side of it, and the reason I'm so passionate and I'm just absolutely, for lack of a better word, obsessed with community is because community, and I'm not even exaggerating, and I am an exaggerator, but I'm not exaggerating right now. Community saved my life. I'm a grateful recovering addict for over 13 years now. in and out of sobriety, doing my best. However, it's the community that keeps me coming back and trying hard. And I don't just mean, my husband and Kevin and my friends and the people that care about me, but I mean, I'm talking about like going to your anonymous groups, and the power of that is, I like to say, when you're in a room where everybody's messed up, nobody's messed up. And so it takes that panic off of you of like, people are going to find out, people are going to find out, people are going to find out. And it just like, it's a very safe, sacred space. And it's saved my life numerous times. And it's why I continue to go, I continue to give, and I continue to be passionate about community, both in my professional and in my personal life.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, like, before you found any of those communities, right? Like just from an emotional standpoint, right? Like, what was life like emotionally before you found these communities that helped save your life?
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of sounding like Captain Obvious here, it's isolation. And in isolation, whether it's addiction, whether it's any form of lack of mental health, whether it's anything that causes harm to you, whether it's physical or mental health, isolation is 10 out of 10 times at the core of it. Isolation is what causes shame. The guilt is you feel bad about something you did, but shame is feeling bad about who you are. And you need community and people around you to be a sounding board and holding up the mirror and being like, you're okay the way you are. Like, you don't need to be something else. So isolation is so dangerous. Isolation is what allows addiction to thrive. Isolation is what lets those downward spirals perpetuate and grow instead of people helping pull you out of that spiral. Isolation is the most dangerous thing, and for your physical health as well.
Yeah. So like, I know in the times where, like, I'm feeling bad or I'm in a bad mood, right? Like, it could be something as simple as just being in a bad mood, right? The thing inside of me that's in the bad mood wants to be justified in being in a bad mood. And thus, like,
that's so
like,
accurate.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to, like, they're like, the thing that's being in a bad mood doesn't want to just like turn it off and be like, oh, everything's great right now. Hey, right? Like, it wants to be in a bad mood, right? And in that, right, like, it kind of steers you towards, isolation and all those other things. So I guess my question is, what was it, again, like, if it's an answer that you can put out publicly, like, what was it that, steered you towards a community and it got you to a point where you were like, yeah, you know what, like, I'll try it, right? Where you were able to overcome that feeling of, just that bad feeling, wanting to be justified and, like, stay around.
Yeah, well, for addicts, it's rock bottom. It's losing everything, and, hurting people and breaking things open. But I will say that you're absolutely right. I called out the isolation, and you made an excellent point where, like, well, isolation's easy. And when you're in a bad mood, quite literally, the last thing you want to do is go ask for help or go do something good for you, because you want to stay in that. Your body's just like, well, this is comfortable, not comfortable good, but familiar, right? It's oftentimes it's the familiar that's keeping you there. You feel like you deserve it. Maybe you grew up in a traumatic upbringing, so it's more familiar to stay in the suck than it is to, like, do the hard work of getting better. And to be honest, one of the hardest, it's the same reason people have a hard time being healthy, because it's hard. And it's the same with mental health. The reason that people find it so difficult to get out of the isolation, to ask for help, because it's hard. It's hard to get mentally fit. It's hard to do those things because it takes practice, it takes courage, it takes doing it when you don't want to do it. This way that I saw you on Facebook this morning going for a run before the sun came up. I would never do that. But I mean, like, doing hard things, both for your mental and your physical health, that shit's hard. That stuff's hard. Sorry, I try not to. That's hard. Yeah. That's hard. It is so hard to get up in the morning and go for a run. It's so hard to ask for help. All of those things are hard.
Yeah,
A
I mean,
couple.
I do like the fact that you pull that out and actually like say like, yeah, it's hard work. And, another part that's hard about it is like actually knowing or thinking that you might need help with it, right? I mean, there's a lot of times where, I think people are hurting, but they don't really think that there's any help they could get, and they don't know that they really want or need help, right? Like, so even that I think is hard. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it too is that it's really easy to, Kevin, our friendship is a really great example. I think you're a phenomenal human being that I have like a stupid amount of respect and adoration for. So the last thing I would want to do is call you when I'm like having a meltdown because you're lovely and I don't want to pull you out of your loveliness to look at my crap that I got going on. And not that you wouldn't. You would in a heartbeat. That's not it at all. It's just
the mental state that you're in when that comes up.
Yeah, I think people don't want other people to see them in a struggling state. I think that's human nature. It's like I even want my husband to just see me at my best. And it's hard for people to be vulnerable. And so I think the first step, as it is with anonymous groups, is admitting it, right? You have to admit that, like, okay, you have to admit your problem before you can work on it. So I mean, just acknowledging that is a huge win. But if I may, I have a couple of really, really easy common sense tips to help people get that momentum to, do the bigger, harder things.
Oh, yeah. Hit me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep correlating this to mental fitness because it's very obvious they're very much related and require the same sort of exercises and discipline and care and attention. So one is in the same way that if it's hard for me to be consistent or do the right things for my physical fitness, what does one do? They pay for a trainer and they meet, and it's the money that forces me to go, right? It's the same, Kevin will agree with me. It's the same in business. If I have a free course and if I have a $500 course, people are more likely to complete and take my $500 course seriously than my free one. It's like, it's an
not
investment
even comparable.
Yeah, the results speak for themselves. So in the same way, like therapy is great, and in therapy, I enjoy therapy. I mean, it's hard and it's sad, but I enjoy it. But I will say that there's so many different kinds of therapy. So if you're like, well, that's not for me, it may not be that methodology that's for you. There's so many different kinds. In fact, I didn't only started a kind of therapy that had crazy results for me this year. So, and I've tried so many different kinds, and I've been going to groups for years, and it's like it can only do so much. So it's like, what is the actual personal work and attention that the same kind of like a trainer would do for me? It has to be the right kind of trainer, a trainer that doesn't really jive with you or kind of like with the outcomes that you're kind of looking for, the way that are with your values to accomplish those values. To accomplish that result, you have to find the right kind of therapy. So that's my first tip. I mean, it's an obvious one, but I think if anyone is going, then try a different kind. Try a different therapist. Or a different kind.
I mean, there's lots of different types of therapists, and like I think there's people out there that aren't necessarily clinical therapists, but like they're also in the realm. They're also in the profession of helping people, and there's. Like I've got my own mental fitness coach, and like I talk to him and the world changes. And then I get my wife to talk to him, and she was like, well, that was nice, right? Like, and it's just different, right? What connects with me doesn't connect with her, right? Like it's different. So yeah, so it seems like what you're saying is that it's worth the time, effort, and money to go through and work with different people to find someone that really does like connect with you, that changes that really has a way to change the paradigm for you.
Or it could be coffee with your favorite person, every week or every month, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be therapy, but it should be someone that keeps you accountable in the same way that a fitness trainer does. Like I go because I pay for it, and I force myself to show up because I very much invested in it. The second one, and this one is really great, especially if you have a hard time opening up. My therapy between therapy is ChatGPT, and I explicitly say, And if anyone, if you haven't used ChatGPT or AI yet, you can't just be like, hey, I want to talk about this. You have to confirm, like, hey, I want you to act as though you're. So I do a Jungian type of therapy. That's what works for me. And so I explicitly ask it. I say, hey, you are to act like you're an expertly trained Jungian analyst. It's like the highest tier of training you can get in the Jungian schools of thought. So I tell it how to act, and then I say, like, this is the outcome, and I have it, we iterate, I ask it to fact check itself and, kind of go back and what are we trying to accomplish today? So you have to be specific when you're using AI, what's the approach, what's the outcome, double checking, stuff like that. But it's so helpful because if I have a problem and maybe I don't want to open up to a human, or maybe I don't want to call Kevin, and maybe, he's tucking his kids into bed, I can't call him right now, like whatever. So I can always, AI doesn't need to sleep, eat, tuck their kids to bed, none of those things. So you can just, I can always open AI. In fact, an exercise I've been doing for a couple weeks with AI is, how like when you're scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and as algorithms be algorithming, you linger on something for 2 seconds and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you want more of that? So, you linger on one thing that like speaks to like a traumatic event from your childhood, and all of a sudden it's just feeding you, right? So I search for intentionally and linger on Jungian videos. Just about a week ago, I stumbled on like I didn't know TikTok could do 20-minute videos, but it was a 20-minute video. It was so long that like every sentence was like pulling at my heartstrings and my mind was blowing, and it was just too much. So I popped the link into like a free transcript downloader. I just Googled TikTok transcript downloader, popped the link in there, and then I dumped it into ChatGPT and I said, act like an expertly trained Jungian analyst. You already know everything about my traumatic past and my addiction issues and where I'm at in my recovery journey. But this video blew my mind. And then it started talking and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is a 20-minute video. Let's go by piece by piece by piece. And it's taken me a week, like a couple hours at a time, because it's such a very heavy piece of material. And it's not just like helping me digest the material, but because I'm used to AI and I'm very outcome based with it, I was like, act like an expertly trained Jungian analyst. I'm going to go through this. Let's go bite by bite. When we're done, please give me a thorough analysis of what you've learned about me and how I'm doing in my mental health, my mental fitness journey. And then let's end with an easy step-by-step action plan that I can continue to work on in between therapy sessions that bodes well with me, because my ChatGPT knows that I have ADHD and consistency is hard for me, that I live in 2 different states and I'm an entrepreneur, so no 2 days are the same. And so like things that are consistency based are just darn near impossible for me. So and it knows that I'm not woo. So I'm like, don't ask me to meditate. Don't ask me to journal. It has to know what works with you. Otherwise, it's the same in marketing and business.
Otherwise, it's going to be generic. Yeah.
It just doesn't feel right. It's like putting somebody else's jacket on. Blech. It's not my jacket. It's your jacket.
Otherwise, it just gives you like, all the AI slop that you see on all the things. Right? Yeah. So, I mean, like there's plenty of things that AI can do well for you. And then there's also AI slop, it's like, but anyways, real quick, just for anybody who just might be listening or whatever, I think you said like Jungian, like, can you spell that? Just show that, like,
it's
anybody who wants to look for it. Anybody wants to look for it, like they know it's Jade.
Jung, Carl Jung, Carl with a C, Carl Jung. And I personally have not succeeded with the most common type of therapy called CBT. I think it's cognitive-based therapy, or it's very like rational thought-based cognitive therapy. And I'm like, well, if my addiction was rational, I would have just been like, I'm tired of that now, and I'll just stop. And like, I found myself fighting with my therapist a lot. And I'm like, no, that's not true. And she's like, well, yeah, you're just saying that because you're an addict. I'm like, you're not listening to me. And we went fight. We would fight. So it wasn't like, it's not the kind of relationship you want with your therapist. Although you do want someone who's not just telling you the things you want to hear, but also I think we were just really butting heads a lot in terms of, she was like giving me advice or telling me things that just like weren't in my values. Like not that she was saying anything unethical. It's really hard to explain.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like for example, right? Like there might be somebody who is, let's say like devoutly Catholic, right? But then they're having this issue, and
Right.
if they go talk to a therapist who's devoutly Catholic, that would help. Right. Versus if they went and talked to somebody who was like devoutly atheist, right? Like, like their values wouldn't line up. They might be telling them to do good things, but because like that, there'd be a language gap almost,
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you. I was struggling there. You picked up the pieces. You nailed it. And then my final piece of advice to sort of help you get started on that journey if you just are either kind of pushing at mental health, or you're just, I'm not ready for that, or I don't want to do it that way, or if you're making all the excuses, I'm trying to help make things easy where you can be like, well, I could try it that way. Just like I tried therapy forever and ever until I was like, oh, this one works for me. And my final and best tip in the world, and this might be a hard pill to swallow, is to evaluate your inner circle. It's commonly said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you have a toxic partner or a toxic parent that you're constantly, having to like placate to them, if you have a best friend who you talk to every day, but they're just negative, if you are hanging out with people who are like, let's go party and hang out when you should be studying or doing harder work on it, whatever the examples are, if you're spending time with people who you don't envy might be a bad word because that's kind of a bad thing, but anyway, who you don't aspire to be like, then those, maybe it's time to reevaluate your inner circle. And I personally had to blow up. I literally left my ex-husband despite being a wonderful person. I quit my job because it was highly toxic, and I jumped into entrepreneurship. And once I started hanging out with entrepreneurs and sort of neurodivergent people, I was like, oh, this is where my people are. And in business, as it is with life, I go walking into rooms where I'm the dumbest person there on purpose. Because if you're in a room and you're the smartest one there, you're not in the right room. You're not learning anything. Those people are dragging you down. So you want to be finding the people that lift you up, because I promise you, and it's like this in fitness circles too, the people that are better than you will never be the ones talking crap about you. It's the people that are lower than you and they want you to stay down with them, or they don't want to feel like you're better than them. So they're going to be like, oh, don't do that. Oh, I can't believe you're posting content online. That's so weird. I mean, that's
and without even like assigning like the reason for why they're doing that, like it just happens. We all know that it happens. So let me kind of recap some of these things,
please.
Just real quick and clean. So the 3 things that like you recommend for mental fitness are: 1, take the time, energy, and money that it takes to go and find a coach or a therapist, somebody who will help you get better, because it will be worth it once you find someone who connects with you well, really understands the way that your brain works, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. 2 is, take the time and effort to, sit down with something like ChatGPT and, explain to it what you're trying to do, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. For lack of better terms, say actually build a relationship with it in a way where when it gives you stuff that you're like, let it know, like this is, right?
Yeah.
And see how it will actually start to understand what you're looking for and start to produce that. And then 3 is evaluate the people that you're spending time with, right? So if you are trying to, let's say, stop smoking and stop drinking, right? Don't go hang out at bars, and don't hang out with people who are constantly inviting you to bars, right? It sounds so simple and, common sense. But I would say of the 3, that one is probably the hardest to do. And the other 2 are just, I would say, they're just hard to get yourself to do, right? You're kind of like, maybe I'll do that next week. Yeah, maybe I'll do that next week. You'll have the good intentions to do those things, but maybe never do them. Where the last one is like, even having the good intention to do that, it's a really hard thing to do to like break up relationships, right? With friends and just like with anybody, even like neighbors sometimes, right? So, but it does have, like you're saying, it does have a huge impact on you.
Yeah. A shining example of that last one, bring in the people that make you better, not the people that hold you back. I like to say everybody needs a Rebecca. I have this friend, Rebecca, she's really into mental fitness, and she's, studied how trauma affects the nervous system, and she's a really sensitive and caring and loving person, but she's also like really bubbly and enthusiastic. So we have a lot in common. We're both like, but we're also really sensitive people. And it's something that both she and I have been criticized for throughout our life, like, oh, why are you so sensitive? And so she and I have this really special relationship where we call each other all the time, and like 9/10 of any and all communication, whether it's texting, phone calls, in-person visits, is like obsessing over how amazing that person is. Like we always answer the phone like this, like, my eyes hurt. My eyes, like, have you seen the movie Booksmart where she's like, eyes hurt from your beauty? Like, we're like, who gave you permission to be so beautiful? Like, we can't. That's like most of our, and then like maybe like a little bit on like, oh, how's your day going? But like the rest of it is like, you are stunning. What a gift. What a gift. It's like we are enthusiastically obsessed with complimenting each other. Yeah. Everybody needs a Rebecca. Like, who is your Rebecca? Who do you call to like pump you up to the max? I'm talking like pump you up. Who's that? Who's your Rebecca?
That is a good thing to have. I don't know if I have like one Rebecca.
You have many Rebeccas?
But I think I've got a couple. Like you're certainly one of them. I've got a Jade, right? That's for sure. Yeah, I've got another guy that does a lot of adventures with me. And like whenever I bring up a dumb idea, he's like, "Yeah, dude, this is awesome! Like, I love it." Yeah,
that's a Rebecca.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think they come in slightly different flavors, but yeah.
I'm not saying like everybody needs like a overly sensitive cheerleader if that's not your thing, but like whatever pumps you up, find someone to like really just go over the top.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can honestly say that I've never had a conversation with you where I did not feel better after the conversation.
Winning. And that's a really good point. I want to say something real quick. You do not have to be 100% mentally fit to contribute to someone else's mental fitness.
Absolutely not.
Like, every morning is a battle for me. I have to like, overcome my paralysis. Am I good enough? And like all of these things. And then, I want to cancel all of my meetings every day. That's a normal thing. But when I get on the calls, like the joke is, and actually you kind of did that when we started our initial call today, was the joke is that people are like, Jade, you're on mute. I'm not on mute. It's just when like the cameras start, I'm like, like that's my face. And people think that I'm going, but I'm not. I'm just going, that's just what I look like. You were like, oh, you can hear me when we started. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. You did that the last time we talked too, which is funny.
It's a thing. So like it energizes me to give. And granted, I will admit that roots in like a trauma response, right? It's called fawning. People think it's only fight or flight, right? It's fight, fright, freeze, and fawn. There's actually four trauma responses. And so it was from my childhood. I fawn. I make sure everybody else is okay and not myself. But it turned into a superpower, and I still have to put a tremendous amount more of effort into cheering myself on. It's easy for me to cheer other people on. Like that's nothing. Call me. I will cheer you up. But cheer myself on? Oh, good. So I admit that it has its roots in something bad, but I turned it into something really, really beautiful. And I still have a lot of work to do yet. I have a lot of fitness to work on to treat myself the way that I treat other people. But even like admitting that, knowing it, is a big deal. Admitting it is a big deal. And I'm starting to work on it. That's the hugest deal yet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing, right? Like there's nothing out there. There's no like yardstick that we can use to say, this is how mentally fit I am, you know? But at the same time, right, like there's really no end to mental fitness, right? Like the guy who, you know, just won the Ironman, right? He's not like, yeah, I've arrived, I'm done, I don't need to do this fitness stuff anymore, I'm good. And when it comes to physical fitness, right, it's like everyone is just where they are. And like doing the fitness piece is just, you know, it's just the practice of improving. You know, and the reason that I get a little passionate about mental fitness is because I don't think there's a single thing that you could do to improve your life and your well-being more than mental fitness, right? Like the only thing that really exists is, you know, like this moment right now and what's happening in your head. That's it. You know, and if you can improve what's happening in your head, right? Like if you can get along with all the people that are inside your head, like your life is just better. Like there, you have way more like well-being, you know? So anyways, that's my 2 cents.
No, that's 100% true. It reminds me of the point that, correct, it doesn't have an end. And even the best of the best, like Olympians have coaches and trainers.
Right.
And Olympians, the quite literal best in the actual world at what they do, have someone giving them advice. And they don't hang out with people that make them feel crappy about themselves. Like, I'm sure I don't know any Olympians, but I'm sure Olympians would tell you that, like, mindset is half the battle, right? Like, they have to get into a place where they feel invincible in their mind, and then their body it's just the skin bag that does the work.
Right.
But it's true. Weird and wise.
That's awesome. Beautiful, beautiful stuff, Jade. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us here at the Humility Quest. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is my honor. All right, we'll see you later.
Bye. I chirp it. Bye.
Wait, okay. I almost hit the leave button, but I gotta hit the stop.